All right, ladies and gentlemen, real quick, let me explain that you do not need DNA. Well, of course, you have to have DNA to test the hair because hair is DNA. But there's other ways to test hair to match it to another piece of hair without extracting chemicals out of it to get DNA results and patterns. And it's called the old fashioned way, where if they had a hair that was found at a murder, how did they solve that? Well, if they had a suspect, they would collect a piece of hair from him or her. They would place it underneath a microscope and they would compare the hair color, the texture, the fiber of it, strand or whatever. And also, the main key thing is hair growth. Your hair is documentation of your growth, your hair, because your hair grows, but it grows in these patterns that are called growth rings, and they're different to every single human being. And all they would have to do with these hairs in the Delphi cave, I hope they didn't throw them all away or whatever, because you can still compare hair to another piece of hair that was in a crime without extracting chemicals from it and putting it through a DNA test. You do it the old fashioned way before DNA was ever created. How did they solve it? You put the hair underneath a microscope and you would compare the growth rings because there are nobody grows hair the same. Every individual growth ring on a hair is is different. So they can still test people's hair even without sending it to a lab. I mean, well, you'd have to send it to a lab. You'd have to do it the old-fashioned way though, and compare the hair strands to whoever you think is a suspect, and then the hair growth rings. The hair follicle, a piece of hair is like a tree. It leaves growth rings. It A piece of hair can tell you what when you were doing drugs, right? Oh, well, here, if you have real long hair, they can take a strand of hair and look at it and say, oh, well, you in 1975 you were doing drugs, right? And it's 1980, 5 years later. If you never cut your hair before and you got real long hair, your hair shows. Your hair shows chemicals, sickness, all kinds of stuff. So that's another way you could test hair. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a great night. Be safe. God bless. Hopefully, they didn't throw all this hair away and they still have it. And hopefully, they test them, people. Reddish, brownish hair, long hair. You ladies and gentlemen, have a great night. We will be back with more Delphi things. And that's what people don't realize. These newcomers to crime and this new generation, they have no idea that crimes were solved before DNA was even created. Before DNA testing was ever created, how did these guys solve crimes? The old fashioned way, a microscope, and they would test hairs and, and match them. I don't know what's going on with the world. I'll be back with more. Have a good night. Hello, Miss Debbie. I'm leaving. I'm already done. I explained everything. I hit the replay real quick. I'll be back with more, Debbie.